I'm live here. This is Hannibal from thehannibaltv.com, and I am going to review this week's September 30th Wrestling Observer newsletter. There is a lot of news. I am going to also post some of this as individual clips. I'll start off with the WWE news. SmackDown is now going to be the A show starting next week. It's going to be on Fox on Friday nights, the most potential viewers. There is going to be new sets for Raw and SmackDown. Steven Curtis is first to comment on this. Raw did a draft right after WrestleMania, as well as SmackDown, of course. Didn't work out very well. They broke away from it very quickly, but they're going to be doing it again next month for whatever reason. And The Rock has not been confirmed to appear on SmackDown next week. There was going to be some talk of him on the show, but if he's going to be added, it will be at the last minute. He has been announced for the UFC event at MSG in November. Neither NXT or AEW are going to air live in the UK. NXT won't be on television in the UK at this point. It's going to be limited to the next day airing on the WWE network. And same thing for Canada. It's going to be on the network, and it will air in a condensed 1-hour show on Fridays at 7 p.m. Motor Stash says just have the whole roster appear on both shows. I agree with that because it's a thin roster. It's not like when they originally did the draft back in 2001 after WCW closed. They don't even have any new stars. So they need to have the shows as stacked as possible. But they say they're not going to do that, but they always end up mixing them anyways. And it's been said that they're going to be doing a lot of Super Show house shows, so they'll be mixed on the house shows. WWE officially announced their FS1 talk show. It's going to be Tuesdays at 11 p.m. called WWE Backstage, and it's going to be hosted by Renee Young and Booker T with a rotating cast of guest personalities. It's been reported many older fans don't like the new Bray Wyatt character with the Halloween mask, but they're going to continue pushing him from everything we've seen. Superstar Billy Graham did suffer a heart attack, and he's now back at home resting after suffering the heart attack last week and being hospitalized for a few days. One of my friends talked to him, and he said that whatever treatment he had at the hospital seems to have helped because he actually sounded better when he spoke with him this week than he had heard him in a few months. So that's good news to report. Billy's going to give us more information through his official Facebook page this weekend. And Lisa Marie Veron Victoria, who's now 48, says she's officially retired from wrestling. Tori Wilson, 44, married Justin Topper on September 19th. He's the CEO and founder of Revolution Golf. She had been previously married to Billy Kidman from 2003 to 2008. How he pulled that off, I don't know. And she was later the girlfriend of Alex Rodriguez, 2011 to 2015. John Hennigan, a.k.a. John Morrison, who was also known as Johnny Impact and Johnny Mungo, is going back to WWE. I guess this idea has been talked about for a few years. He tried to move into acting, but that didn't work out. So he has officially signed back with the company. Matt R is asking, is Hacksaw still in the hospital? I don't know. There hasn't been any updates on him. So he could very well still be in the hospital. But, yeah, I haven't heard anything. I'll look into that. According to Dave Meltzer, if CM Punk comes back to wrestling, it looks like it's going to be in WWE. He's going to be turning 41 next month. Main eventers in WWE are now making more than they did in Punk's heyday. The impression from WWE, according to Meltzer, is they believe he wants back in, but right now they're not counting on anything. He did get an offer from AEW a while back, but he was very negative about the offer, and apparently that's the only talk he had with AEW. Tommy LeBlanc says, get wrestling back on Saturday and Sunday mornings on local TV. That's the good wrestling I remember too. Supposedly there might be an AEW studio show on one of the Turner networks in the future, from what I've heard. Mark Henry has revealed that he wants to get into stand-up comedy. The Goldberg versus Ziggler altercation was just an angle that they did in Las Vegas, but there's no plans on having them wrestle again. Apparently Paul Heyman, who's the head writer for Raw, or he's the director of Raw, the executive director of Raw. I don't know if he's actually the head writer, but he only wants Goldberg as an occasional on-air character. As far as NXT, raises have not come in for the NXT talent yet, despite NXT getting $30 million a year to be on USA. According to Dave Meltzer, almost all the talent, and possibly all the talent, is earning less than $100,000 a year. Hence why Kenny Omega is right. NXT is the development league still. There's no league for development wrestlers below NXT, and most of them, if not all of them, are making under $100,000 right now. The talent is also required to do full rehearsals every Tuesday night, which would suck for the more experienced talent, but that shows you that those matches are probably totally choreographed. This apparently is going to happen weekly. WWE is committed to have all the NXT tapings at Full Sail through the end of the year, even though it only holds 400 fans. As far as Clash of Champion buys, it looks like the estimate, they had 12,800 buys for the Clash of Champions through TV. Scarlett Bordeaux had a WWE tryout on September 24th. Motor Stash is asking how ticket sales are for the AAA show in LA. I'm going to get to that. I don't know about ticket sales, but I have some information on that. For WWE attendance, we keep hearing about how great NXT is, but on September 19th, they drew 150 fans in Daytona. September 20th in Jacksonville, they drew 300 fans. September 21st in Melbourne, Florida, they drew 150 fans. September 25th for their taping, they drew 400 fans in Winter Park, Florida at Full Sail. September 26th, NXT drew 350 fans in Des Moines, Iowa. Moving on to the Raw brand, they drew 3,000 fans for their September 20th house show in Calgary. September 21st in Edmonton, they actually drew 6,000 fans, which is pretty good. For San Francisco, they had the Raw taping, which was the first WWE TV taping in the city in almost 15 years, and it was the first show in the new arena. They drew 6,500. And then the next night for the SmackDown 205 live tapings, they only drew 3,500. And it has been reported WWE is going to stop doing these or do them less frequently. The 2 tapings in a row in the same locations, as even in Madison Square Garden, it didn't work out too well for them. So they are going to stop doing that. SmackDown was in the Philippines and China. No attendance reported for those shows. On their way back from those shows, they did a show in Honolulu where they rarely go, and they drew 5,500 fans. So that's pretty good. Rage TV says, I believe CM Punk in WWE would work. But yeah, it's true. For AEW news, Kevin Sullivan, someone mentioned this to me a few days ago. They thought it was the real Kevin Sullivan from WCW, the former booker there. And they said, wow, he's going to AEW. Hannibal, you might have a chance, since we know Kevin Sullivan speaks highly of me. But no, this is Kevin Sullivan, the producer. that's left Impact to become the vice president, or he was the vice president of production for Impact, and now he's going to be the vice president of post-production for AEW. And he was the guy making a lot of cool videos for Impact for years. He's also produced videos for Bellator, and apparently he's bringing in a whole crew from Impact to AEW, so that's a huge loss for Impact. Omega, apparently on Being the Elite, did a spoof of his comments regarding NXT, a spoof apology. And the weird thing is, this is not the first time AEW has done this. They shot it as if he didn't know cameras were running after he was done his vignette. And he talked basically saying the apology was crap after the cameras stopped running. They did this before in an angle with the librarians where they shot something. They pretended the cameras weren't running after, and they continued talking, showing like behind the scenes. But it's just really weird. I don't personally see why they're doing that. It's bizarre. For AAA, someone was just asking that their MSG show drew 60 live buys reportedly, and a total of 300 to 400 total pay-per-view buys. No official number was released for the Hulu theater in MSG, but supposedly Cain Velasquez being on the card did not significantly help the gate. Very good. So on to MLW. They're returning to the ECW Arena in Philadelphia February 1st on a show that's going to be called Fightland. Court Bauer sent out a tweet on his official Twitter yesterday asking fans who they would like to see in AEW or in MLW. So for all you fans that are asking about Hannibal and MLW, reply to Court Bauer's tweet from yesterday about that. Tom Lawler versus Davey Boy Smith Jr. has been announced for their November TV tapings in Orlando. And of course, Davey Boy Smith Jr. is wrestling for Great North Wrestling October the 19th in Rockland. Same show as Haku is going to be on. Savio Vega, West Briscoe. It's going to be a massive event. Tickets start at just $10. Go to thehannibaltv.com for more information. The Ghost Show says if he can be medically cleared, then it's a shame. I don't know who he's talking about there. For Impact, their Twitch peak last week was only 3,548 viewers. I was told from reports the show wasn't very good. LAX's last match for Impact had 3,150 viewers on Twitch. So again, to get on Access TV, their parent company had to buy the channel. It's not like Access TV gave them a TV deal. They are drawing horrible viewers. Like with all the money that company has, 3,548 was their peak viewers of Impact on Twitch. So that tells you something about the company. Joey Ryan apparently did a male stripper gimmick on the last episode of Impact, and there was some really bizarre stuff happening with the women where they did some weird angle. I won't even get into it. I don't plan on watching it to know more. Enzo Pontrelli says LAX joining AEW is huge. Well, it's a good move for them for sure. They're going to be seen by a lot. Devious Trim says Hannibal TV has more subscribers than Impact and MLW. Well, we have more subscribers in MLW and the NWA. Impact took over TNA's subscribers, so they still have like years of Impact Wrestling TNA subscribers through the AJ Styles, Hulk Hogan years. So they definitely are beating me in YouTube subscribers. But back when Global Force Wrestling, they actually started their YouTube channel the same time as me. I had more subscribers in Global Force Wrestling too, but nothing ever came of Global Force Wrestling. And speaking of NWA, they have tapings coming up September 30th and October 1st at a small studio in Atlanta, which is not sold out. despite they've added the Rock and Roll Express. They are having an NWA title match on these tapings, which a lot of people have been outspoken about, including Les Thatcher, saying they believe that they should build up to a title match because many people aren't familiar with Nick Aldis yet. And his opponent is Tim Storm for this title match, who, despite him being an NWA champion in recent years, nobody really knows him. So many people think they should have built up before having the first title match rather than just throwing it out there. In UFC news, Chris Cyborg, who recently signed with Bellator, says her deal allows her to wrestle for WWE or AEW if they want her. So that could be a good thing for her for sure, with all these MMA fighters going into wrestling. Someone's asking if I have any more tryout camps lined up. I really don't have that much interest in wrestling anymore. As Hannibal, I'm retired. So no, I'm focusing on building this channel. For whatever reason, I'm blackballed from wrestling. Maybe because I can beat everyone and they're all afraid of me. Matt R says BJ Penn finally got dumped, and I was right about to say that. Dana White has said that BJ Penn and UFC have officially ended their terms, and Penn has been cut. Chuck Liddell also said that he has had talks about pro wrestling. He's friends with Shane McMahon. He is 49 years old. Did just have a pretty significant defeat to Tito Ortiz, who, by the way, Tito Ortiz is going to do a Skype interview with me in November. Because people have confirmed that. I, of course, did a shoot interview with him last year that's up now free on the Hannibal TV. Speaking of Chuck Liddell, ESPN is going to do a 30 for 30 documentary on Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz's feud. It's going to be the first 30 for 30 MMA documentary. Daniel Cormier has confirmed that his next fight versus Stipe Miocic is going to be the last fight of his career, so he could end his career winning the title. Somebody says, really, Tim Storm is the best Billy Corgan has. Yeah, that is a bad sign, and I think Tim Storm is actually fairly up in years too. So I don't know, man. Billy Corgan himself in a studio as a star of Smashing Pumpkins should be able to sell out a studio. I don't know why NWA, what they're doing. I don't agree with Nick Aldis as champion. Either he's boring, he doesn't wear the title enough. Champion should be showing off the title as much as possible, and he hasn't proven himself as a draw. So I don't know why they're sticking with Corgan. I don't expect that Tim Storm is going to win the title back on the first show. But I don't know which major stars they have that would be a good champion. There's no one. Actually, Ricky Morton would make a better champion than Nick Aldis. At least people know Ricky Morton. Maybe they should give him a title shot. Matt Hughes has filed a lawsuit against Norfolk Southern Railway, claiming that the company and several of its employees were negligent in warning motorists of the dangerous conditions at the railroad crossing where his truck was hit by a train. The Ghost Show says James Storm. Well, I like James Storm. I've actually wrestled James Storm twice in Puerto Rico. I still don't know if James Storm has the name value that NWA needs right now in a champion. But who knows where they're going to go. But I have nothing against James Storm. I have nothing against Nick Aldis, too. I just don't think he's a good champion. Definitely, he's not the guy that you should be building your company around. Harry Smith would be a good champion. He has name value. He's been in WWE. He's in MLW. I don't think there's many conflicts with NWA and MLW, and he's legitimately tough. So, yeah. So UFC is going to have a December 28th show in South Korea, which is going to be the Korean Zombies' first match in Korea in 11 years. They did hold the show September 21st in Mexico City. The headliner was a featherweight match between the supposed country's hero, Yair Rodriguez, and Jeremy Stevens, but it was stopped in 15 seconds after an accidental eye poke by Rodriguez to Stevens. Stevens said he couldn't see. The doctors checked on Stevens. He was given him 5 minutes to try and recover, but he didn't recover. So the fight has now been rescheduled for the Boston show that BJ Penn was kicked off of for street fighting on December 18th. There was only one missed weight at the Mexico fights. It was Vanessa Milo, who missed weight against her fight against Irene Aldana. Milo took the fight on short notice, and Aldana won the fight via decision. The Mexico City event drew 10,112 fans with no gate announced. It was the 5th show held in Mexico City and the least drawing of all 5, despite Rodriguez being billed as the headliner and one of the most popular fighters in Mexico. The $50,000 bonuses went to Carla Esperez and Alexa Grasso for Fight of the Night, with Steven Peterson and Paul Craig taking home the 2 Performance of the Night bonuses. Cornette is an NWA. Someone's asking me, yeah, he's going to be the announcer. He has left MLW. Anthony says Tim Storm is 54 years old, so the guy challenging for the NWA title is 54 years old. There's a lot of good wrestlers at 54. I'm just saying that for an unknown guy at 54 years old to get a title shot, if you're going to have that, at least build him up a bit, because it's unknown actually if this show is going to be on TV or YouTube. Nothing against YouTube, but as I said, Hannibal TV has significant more subscribers than NWA on YouTube. They don't have a strong YouTube subscription, so it just seems a little fast to throw out all that. Someone says they really hate the way Nick Aldis walks. I'll check for a few of these questions before I sign off. That's all the main information from the Wrestling Observer. Of course, next week is the big head-to-head AEW versus NXT show. So that's pretty exciting. And we had a little vote on my live stream last night on who thinks AEW is going to beat NXT in the head-to-head, and AEW won by a landslide. However, NXT still has Raw this coming Monday to be promoted on, so they could add stars to the NXT show. Right now, there's no stars really on that NXT show on Monday.